Hello my crafty friends, this is Monica. Welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm going to show you how to create a custom bike seat cover. Recently my bike seat started to crack because my bike sits outside and every time I want to ride my bike the foam inside gets really wet and I always end up with wet bum. So I thought I need to fix that and I've created my very own bike seat cover. In previous video I showed you how to create your own custom template that will fit your specific bike seat. So if you haven't created one just yet, make sure to watch that video first. Otherwise, grab your supplies and let's get started. To make your own bike seat cover, you will need to cut two pieces using the template you previously created. So I have the main body and my gusset. You will also need an elastic of your choice. I'm using about 7mm wide elastic in this tutorial. And I'm going to use bodkin to help me feed the elastic through the tunnel. If you don't have this type of tool, you can use just a regular safety pin instead. To begin, take your gusset, fold it in half, right sides together, and align your side edges. You can use clips or pins to hold them together. Just like that. Then you're going to take this to the machine and we're going to sew the seam. If you can, take this to the pressing station now. Open the seam allowance and press them nice and flat. But since I'm using waterproof canvas, I cannot really press my fabric. So I'm just going to quickly use seam roller for that. Now we're going to prep our bottom edge to create the tunnel for our elastic. So what you want to do is to fold the bottom edge twice. Once like this and then second time like this. The amount that you need to fold depends on what seam allowance you've added to your pattern, to your template. So for example, I know that I need to fold my fabric twice by 1.5 centimeter because I've added 3 centimeters of seam allowance. So since I cannot press my fabric, what I like to do in this instance is to take a ruler and draw a guideline so I can fold my fabric. So I'm going to measure 3 centimeters, which is double the first fold, and draw a line. I'll do that on the other side as well. Here we go. And now, since I cannot press my fabric, I'm going to use double-sided tape. So I'm going to apply double-sided tape along the edge of my gusset around the entire length. Here we go. Press it with your fingers so it sticks to the fabric. Now you can remove the plastic cover and bring the edge of your gusset towards the line to create the first fold. So I'm going to open my seam allowance and fold my fabric wrong sides together, just like that, and create my first fold. By adding this guideline, I know I'm creating seamless fold that is straight and not wonky. Otherwise, if I was just eyeballing that, my fold may be a little bit wonky. So I like to add that guideline to create even fold throughout the entire gusset. So just take your time and either use double-sided tape or press your fabric with an iron. Now that I have my first fold, I can use the edge of the fabric to create the second fold, just like that. And this time I don't want to use double-sided tape because we're going to feed our elastic through that tunnel. So it's going to be very difficult otherwise. So instead, I'm just going to use clips to hold that in place. Again, you can take this to the pressing station and simply press your fabric nice and flat. Here we go. When you are ready, take this to the machine and top stitch around the entire gusset, very close to this folded edge. But leave a small opening somewhere along the seam, so later you can feed your elastic through. Now that we've made the tunnel for our elastic, we can assemble the entire cover. So what you want to do is to make sure you have your midpoints marked. So I have seam on one side and a midpoint, a notch on the other side. And I also have notches on both ends of the main panel. So now you can grab your gusset and place it on top. I like to line up the seam at the back, so right sides are facing each other. Let me just turn this. You want to match the midpoints or match the seam at the midpoint. Clip everything together. And then slowly start aligning the edge of the gusset along the edge of the main panel. And clip everything together. So on the other side, again, I'm going to start by aligning the midpoints. And then I can slowly start aligning and clipping my fabric. And you just want to take your time and do it as precisely as possible. Here we go. Once you've got everything clipped, this is what it should look like. So next you're going to take this to the machine and sew the seam around the entire gusset using the seam allowance that you've added to your template. Depending on what type of fabric you are using for your cover, you may need to finish off the edge to prevent the fabric from fraying later on. So if you are, let's say, using woven fabric and your fabric has a tendency to fraying a lot, you can use binding to bind this seam. Otherwise, use zigzag stitch or an overlocker or serger to finish off the seam. But since I'm using waterproof fabric and this fabric doesn't really fray, I don't really have to worry about it. Instead, what I'm going to do is to trim the seam allowance by half. So if you have pinking shears, you can use pinking shears to do that. Otherwise, use your regular scissors and then trim the seam allowance by half. Now you can take your elastic and feed the elastic through the tunnel. So I'm going to use my bodkin and then feed the elastic through the tunnel just like that. Go around the entire gusset. Here we go. Pull it through. Okay, what I like to do next is to take my bike seat, place it inside. This way I'll be able to figure out how long I need my elastic. So I'm just going to pull on one end and cinch that elastic. You want to make sure it is tight enough so it doesn't slip off the seat while you are cycling. So I think this is going to be enough for me. So what I'm going to do now is to trim the excess. Here we go. If you want, you can take this to the machine, place the elastic on top of each other like this, and then sew a seam back and forth a few times to anchor it in place. I don't really care, to be honest, so I'm going to simply tie a knot at the end. There you go. So now that I have my elastic secured, I can push that end inside and then go to the machine to close that opening. So you're going to take this to the machine. I'm just going to move my knot out of the way so it doesn't bother me while I'm sewing, and then simply finish sewing the seam. And just like that, your bike seat cover is now finished. So you can turn it right side out, push the seam out, and then take your bike seat and put the cover on. Here we go, just like that. Looks great. If you liked this tutorial, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, subscribe to my channel for more videos just like this one. See you next time. Stay crafty, friends. Bye.